Alright people, it's time to talk about a film that came out last year and is finally widely available on the Netflix. Probably, if I had to pick one, this is most likely the favorite film that I've seen from 2015 so far. A lot of good stuff that came out, but this one is my absolute favorite. No surprise here, it's Love by Gaspar Noe. And ironically enough, I'm recording this on Valentine's Day 2016. So it's a very thematically appropriate day for a very thematically appropriate film. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the works of Gaspar Noe, he is an absolutely incredible French filmmaker, and he's probably best known for two films. A film from 1998 that is called I Stand Alone, which is just an incredible film about an absolute just scumbag, miserable human being who basically gets his own daughter pregnant. You know, it's not exactly family material. That's not really Noe's forte. But I mean, it's just such a great psychological portrait. And the concluding scene, like the last frame of the film where almost the entire story, the entire narrative is told through like an inner monologue, is just absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like that in a movie before or since. And his other unquestioned masterpiece, of course, 2002's Irreversible. The film that's basically, in some circles, known as either the backwards movie, because the entire film is actually told in reverse, complete with the credits scrolling backwards. And it's also known as, and I really hate to say this, but it is the colloquialism, it's known as the Monica Bellucci rape movie, because of the really, really graphic, like 12-minute long scene where she gets violated. And it's a really tough film to watch, without question, no way around it. Throw in the fire extinguisher scene and you've got something that is the absolute worst day night fodder imaginable. But just taken as a whole, is just really just aggressive, transgressive cinema. It's an absolute just masterpiece. And now Gaspar Noe can rightfully add a third film to his pantheon of mortal, degenerate cinema art house flicks. Like I said earlier, it's 2015's Love. And this film is a little bit different from his previous works. Nobody gets killed. There's not a lot of gore. Not a lot of sadistic imagery. And in fact, unlike Irreversible and I Stand Alone, it's actually pretty funny. I mean, there's a lot of humor in this film, which is not really what you expect from Gaspar Noe. But what this is, it's basically about a guy, and he's an American kid, and obviously he's patterned after Gaspar Noe. In fact, his kid is named Gaspar, and there's a scene earlier where you're throwing a guy named Noe as well. So obviously this is a complete sort of what's the name of the term for it? A Roman clef, where obviously it's based on a true story, but they don't say it's based on a true story. So anyway, the American kid is a stand-in for the director, Mr. Noe himself. He lives in an apartment in Paris, and he just had a kid, and his wife is French, and much like I Stand Alone, the beginning of the film is basically told through like his inner thoughts, where he's like walking around, thinking about how he's gotten fat, you know, how his wife really doesn't love him, this isn't the life he wanted. And from there we kind of get into the meat of the plot, and that's that before the main character met this woman and got her pregnant, he was ridiculously, absurdly in love with his old flame. He was like this really sort of like a free-spirited French woman who's into a lot of drugs. And basically the entire film is him sort of like reminiscing about her and how it kind of interplays through his current life. So a lot of it's told in flashbacks, and him just like sitting in the bathtub wondering about what happened to her. And really, to kind of say anything from there, and like I said, the two love stories do get wrapped up. You know, that does happen. There's some intertwining going on here. But just through and through, I mean, it's such an incredible film about love, because, you know, you watch all these films, all these Hollywood films about, you know, romance and sexuality, and they never get it right. This is a movie that absolutely nails it. It's just a torrent of emotions. You get the passion, you get the sympathy, you get the whimsy, and then on the other end, you get the heartbreak, you get the devastation, you get the absolute madness and anger and rage of a breakup. And this film does such a great job of combining all those elements together in a way that I really haven't seen, you know, a movie do probably ever. It's the first movie I've ever seen actually nailed all of the just whirlwind of emotions in a single picture. And for that reason alone, you need to see this movie. But like I said, it's just an incredibly just comprehensive film. It's every genre. You're going to be terrified. Your heart's going to flutter. You're going to feel sick of your stomach. You're going to be concerned. You're going to feel worried. And really, that's what you feel when you're in love. I mean, love is all the emotions combined and put in a blender and mixed with steroids and just completely just everything is enhanced. And when it's good, everything is just magical. When it's bad, everything is just absolutely unlivable. And this film does such an incredible job of tying, how your old romances impact your current ones. The psychological trauma that comes from these things. The whimsy, the wonder, and even the good times, how that stays with you. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful movie. When I saw this movie, I'm so glad I watched it. It's like watching a very similar film from a few years back by Lars von Trier, The Nymphomaniac, which is a little bit darker, a little bit more aggressive and abrasive. This one is certainly more accessible and nowhere near as extreme. And it's just beautiful. You watch this movie, and of course, you can't talk about the movie without talking about sexual content, because it's very sexually explicit. You're going to see stuff in here that you're not going to see in Hollywood movies. This is easily NC-17 fair, probably even further. But I realize while watching this film why you don't see films like this in theaters, why you don't see big Hollywood studios getting behind them. It's because these films are adult. And when I say adult, I don't just mean sexually explicit. I mean they're about adult emotions. They're about adult themes and adult characters, and you have to have adult sensibilities to understand them. And I've made videos before about how the current onslaught of Hollywood mainstream films are just designed to infantilize you. I mean, even when you look at like the Hollywood Oscar bait, even that, I mean, it's done through a very reductionistic, juvenilistic, black and white, simplistic sort of a tone. When the reality is, great film, great art, and really just any sort of thorough examination of life itself, you got to do it through a little bit more gray tone. You have to be something not as certain. You got to take chances. You got to be extreme. You got to be honest. You got to be open. And this film is just absolutely engaging. It's riveting. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you almost vomit. It'll make you probably cry. I don't know. It's going to make you do a lot of things. And it's conflicting, and it's confusing, and it's super emotional. And when it's all said and done, you don't really know how you're supposed to feel, which is exactly how love makes you feel. So just for that, you need to see this movie. It's on Netflix. It's probably on all the other places too. But it's an absolutely wonderful motion picture. When you talk about all the crap going out there in Hollywood, all the boring paint-by-number stuff, there's great stuff out there. You just got to look for it. And this is, as far as I'm concerned, just the absolute best we got in 2015. Gaspar Noe's love.